Hello, everyone, and let's wait for a couple people to get on. Welcome to Seattle Public Utilities Ask Evelyn Live. I'm your host, Jemini Davis. So we'll be discussing recycled, compost, and garbage. And I should clarify that I'm actually going to be your standing host as Becca Fong is going to be out this week. And so hopefully Pat and I, who's also with SPU, can some time and hopefully provide some great content. And we're going to be getting Pat on board here shortly.
Hey, Gemini, what's up?
Hey, how's it going, Pat?
Good to see you. Thank you for hosting the show this week. Oh, yeah, you got your camera held good. Nice. Yeah, we are settling in for this week's show. Thanks for helping host us this week. This is the weekly show of Ask Evelyn. Becca's off this week, so we're going to make it work. I'm Pat Kaufman. I do the commercial recycling and composting for Seattle Public Utilities. Gemini, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, Jemini Davis, and my apologies, Pat. Got so excited about being able to co-host with you this week that I forgot to introduce the topic. This week is Take My Breath Away, and we'll be discussing some of those household cleaning items and what to do with them and how to get rid of them.
It's so fun. We've done the whole month of February. The theme is all about the love, right? And
Sure.
Katie Dillon, our awesome social media manager, she has provided us through brainstorming sessions these great themes for the month of February. Take my breath away. You know, this is the some of these things you don't want to breathe in the fumes on some of these cleaners and chemicals and things. So that's where HHW jumps in, household hazardous waste. So do you want to kick us off with the question?
For sure. Let me go ahead and bring up the first question.
All right.
This week, this question comes in from Katrina. So our question is, hi, Evelyn. I just moved into a new place that has a bunch of household cleaners that I don't want to use. How do I get rid of these safely?
Yeah. So quick answer on that, is basically our household hazardous waste drop-off stations. We have two of them in Seattle, one in the north end and one in the south end, and they're both open to all Seattle customers. They are free services. They are located, like I said, one up north near sort of 130th and Aurora, and the other one down south, down the South Park area right by the station. Do you want to provide the addresses and the times?
For sure. So that first location that we have is our North Seattle location, which is located on 125th and Stoneway. And that one is open 9:30 to 4:30 p.m. from Sunday to Wednesday. And we also have our South Seattle location, which is right across from the South Transfer Station. And that location is open from 9:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Thursday through Saturday. So we have a couple of different options depending on which side of town you're on.
Right. It's pretty much, I mean, it's full service all week, but it's either north or south, the way the staffing is. So we try to make ourselves available, the service to all customers. You just want to make sure you're going to the right station on the right day is really how it breaks down there. But yeah, so basically, some of the reasons why do we have household hazardous waste anyway? Some of these things just shouldn't go in the garbage. I mean, it's like old gasoline or old paints or some old, brake parts cleaner that, I don't know how. I've never cleaned a brake before in my life, but somehow I ended up with this in my garage. And it should not just, if I don't want it anymore, I shouldn't just toss it in the trash can. It's got chemicals and like different materials in there, flammable materials and such. So those need to be managed appropriately. So that's why Seattle Public Utilities, through our services, we offer these responsible and, free to the customer services for proper managing of this material. And this stuff shows up all the time, right? I mean, it's amazing how they just appear almost, it seems.
For sure. You bring up a great point, Pat. Myself, I actually just moved into an apartment not too long ago, and that was one of the things I had to deal with was you go into a storage area that someone had previously occupied, and there's just shelves full of paint. And obviously that's not stuff that we can just throw away in the garbage or get rid of so easily. And it's not really something I care to make space for in my own place.
True.
As I have no intentions on painting anytime soon. So it's great to know there's those resources and places out there where we can properly dispose of items like that.
And you bring up a good point. Paint's a curveball for folks because it used to be if you had any kind of paint at all, you could take it to HHW. But now, the latex paint, like standard wall paint that most people use for homeowner type projects, that's not accepted at HHW. They're not the agency service for latex paint. That goes to the paint cycle program, which is still free to get rid of it, but you have to go find a participating paint recycling drop-off site for the latex. But if it's one of those enamel paints or like an old rattle can paint of some kind, or like somebody's creating, like this is a wood conditioner, I don't know what this is, but some sort of a stain type product. It's more of a chemical. That stuff can go to HHW. So it's that's a good example. Your story is a great example of how it wasn't your product. It wasn't stuff that you bought. You don't know how old it is. You don't know if it's any good anymore. Sometimes some of these old paint cans, you can't even hardly get them open. They're rusted closed so much. They've been sitting on the shelf for so long. So yeah, it's a challenge, but it's the responsible thing to do. And the thing we didn't really explicitly mention so far is that we do not want this stuff poured down the drain. That's another environmental kind of challenge, is that out of sight, out of mind. Well, that's a tough thing to combat against when, as an agency focused on environmental protection like we are. We do not want our customers, our citizens out there, just kind of turning a blind eye and just getting it out of their situation. They've got to responsibly drop it off at the right service provider, which is for us HHW, and it's good service. So. What are some other things that can we think about to make sure folks know that we're talking about? Like there are paints we talked about.
We got paints. I think another thing would be like some of those household cleaning items, such as like a lot of times I'll find like carpet cleaner or things like that, and which is tough too, because especially when you're moving into a new place, you're not very familiar with the product. You don't know if that stuff's even going to like stain your carpet, damage it. Like you're just not familiar with it. So I think that's another one of those common items and things along that nature where you just kind of find that people are leaving behind, but on my end, it's not the easiest thing to get rid of at times.
It is confusing. I think one thing about HHW is they'll tell you, no, that's okay. You can, like if it's some sort of a soap, I'm sure they get a steady flow of people who bring all the things they don't want, which is fine. That's a good, they'll do the assessment. They'll look and say, these are okay. You should use them. The other thing about that stuff is if it is a product that the kind of origins of, you should use it up if you can. That's the best. I mean, if it's still a viable product. But yeah, if it's just there on the shelf when you move in, or it's something you've discovered in the attic or in the basement cabinet or something, then if you're not aware of it, you don't want to put your carpets or whatever you cleaning stuff at risk, then proper disposal is best. And there, like I said, there are things that they're not really there to be the collector of all things if they're not hazardous. So it is household hazardous waste. It's not household all things waste. Yeah. So we're gonna, and then the staff up there at HHW, they will help, much as they would prefer everybody only bring to them the things that go to their services. They are, in a position to provide that feedback to customers and say, this one's fine. You can use this up, or it's just a soap. You can pour it down the drain. Because, a lot of soaps, they're concentrated, but they can go down the drain if it's just a soap. But it's certain cleaners, like you said, this is one that we use to remove some paint. It's called Crud Cutter. And I would not pour this down the drain. I'll still use it up, though. I'm sure I'll find something to, some project someday. But it's hard. There's a lot of products out there. Corporations are going to keep making these products for us. Everybody wants to do there's a lot of do-it-yourselfer work out there. So there's no limit. There's no slowing down on the kind of supply side of all this stuff. It's just only buy what you need, use up what you have, and then hopefully, because you want the service out of the product. You don't want to end up with a chore of disposing of the product.
Only buy what you need. Those are words to live by, Pat. You've done a great job with all the episodes with providing our viewers some additional resources. Do you have any links or anything you can provide to help?
Well, there are, and I'm glad you asked. Yes, we have a couple links here in the show notes, which we'll have on the show afterwards when we post this. The HHW program for Seattle has our 2 drop-off sites. And just as an FYI for folks who might not be viewing the show today from just Seattle, King County also operates a very similar program. They actually have drop-off points, but they also have what they call the Waste Mobile, where they go to these far-flung communities around the county and they bring the service to the communities. And there's a schedule for that. So if you're out in King County, you can punch up their website and look and see what their service offerings are, the timing and such of collection. So there's that. And then, of course, the paint cycle program we talked about, that's a paint care program that's statewide. And then there's also just the idea of choosing alternative cleaning products, either the natural green cleaning products. You can go online and, I mean, any of us could just Google green cleaning and come up with all kinds of recipes for mixing, you know, baking soda with vinegar or something like that, instead of buying some more intense, you know, toxic laden kind of cleaner. Sometimes you don't need it. With a little elbow grease and a little, you know, homespun recipe made cleaner, you can get it done. You don't need to buy the really harsh stuff. And a question in the chat here, why shouldn't these things go in the garbage? Yeah, I think it comes back to environmental protection, as we talked about, like not going down the drain, you know, protecting our waterways, because anything that goes down the drain eventually goes out to Puget Sound. I mean, it is treated, but it does go through that process. And then to toss you know, one should not toss you know, toxic chemicals into the garbage, because that can be exposure to the drivers, to the hauling company staff. It can be at the transfer station, at disposal, at the landfill. Landfills are not made for holding in toxic chemicals. They're just made for normal garbage. So these HHW products are disposed of and processed specifically for whatever material they are. Yeah.
Those are some great resources to provide, Pat, and I know our viewers will appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's one thing I think I can utilize a lot of those myself. So I mean, it's one thing to kind of speak on those things and give those facts, but to also provide the user their own way and to provide them with the correct way to do things. I think it's just as important. So we appreciate you sharing that, Pat. And
of course, yeah.
Also, thank you for allowing me the space to co-host with you today and Becca's absence. And we'll be excited when she gets back.
Yeah, that's good. She's great. When she gets back, we'll have another show next week. And then in March, we have a whole special series. Well, you'll be joining us again for all the shows in March. And we'll be doing a special kind of focus on recycling and the difficulty and the challenges of recycling. We're going to announce it next week on the show, the big March effort. But yes, this was a great opportunity for us to do a show together. And then we're getting prepared for our efforts in March to focus on recycling again.
March has always been one of my favorite months, so I'm excited to see what's in store.
All right. Well, with that, I'll sign off first, and I'll say, you know, remember, folks, recycle right. That's what I always say. And over to you, Gemini.
I'm Jemini Davis, and just want to help you ensure that your waste goes to the right place.
Nice. Good one. Okay. All right. See you guys next week. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye.